Hi, I'm Alan Howarth. Just want to talk to you about some of the things I've been doing with sound lately. I've done a lot of feature films over the last 30 years, and I was always interested in surround sound, and we got into a project we call sound array systems, where we've kind of gone beyond surround to what I'll call sound immersion. So we know what feature film sound is. We've had surround sound. We have things we call 5.1, which means there's 5 speakers and a subwoofer, and now it's gone to 7.1. And now we see with the 3D movie stuff that's coming on, we actually want sound to come out into the room. So I've been into projects now where we've been using literally arrays of speakers. Like in this case, I have in this room 48 speakers. Literally the room is coated with speakers, and we think of each speaker as a sound pixel. So much like there's little dots on your video display, there's now little sound dots over the entire room, and every channel is addressed independently, and it makes this network of speakers around you. And we have low frequency vibration in the floor now, so you actually feel the sound as well as experience it acoustically. There's actually vibration. Much like if you were on a boat, and when you're riding in a boat, you feel the boat, you hear the boat. And this gives us this sound immersion. Well, there's been a lot of experience with multi-channel sound, things that are greater than 8 channels or 16 channels, up to 48 channels. And we are able to decipher more information. Example, if there's a crowd around you, you could focus into any one of the individuals in a crowd. Well, this sound system can now do that for you, and you can have individual focus. It's been applied in theme parks already. One of my clients has a 48-channel theater that we've made movies now with 48-channel sound stems that have independent channels everywhere. I'm also looking to do it actually as I'm going into what's called sound healing and sound immersion, the idea of using sound therapy. So this would put a person actually in sound, much like a sound shower. So we have a little baby version of this we call a sound bubble. It's like a little hemisphere, 4-foot hemisphere, and it's got 16 channels in the vibration. And you kind of put a person in it, and you can immerse them now in sound or in music. Well, the sound bubble is a miniature version of this 48-channel room, and the idea was to make a one-person experience. So you know what the experience is when you have headphones. You have the headphones on and the sound is all around you. Now we want to create something that acoustically that occurs with. So now we have 16 little speakers in the sound dome and vibration in the floor. And this is like a sound shower. The sound actually comes around you acoustically. And that's a different experience than just putting it directly into your ears. You actually have a physical experience with this. And I'm looking to use this in sound therapy and sound wellness, as well as video game experience. And also it'd be great for people that are in apartments that want to have a contained, nice sound field, but not have it pollute the outside area. So these are some of the cutting edge things I'm into with sound system. I've been working on sound design, creating special sound effects, which is what I've done for years. I worked with Mark Mangini, one of the sound supervisors over at Sound Deluxe, on a movie called the Spiderwick Chronicles. And in that I was designing a sound effect that was half musical and half real. So it wanted to be like singing crickets. It was the sound of the sylph. And there was a story point where the song of the sylph suspended time. So now we get into this whole day it's a sound effect, but it has a purpose, it has a story point. So those are the kind of challenges I love to do. That's really when you kind of dump in, and you're not going to do, it's not something you're going to get with a microphone only. You're going to make these layers and layers and combinations and work with the computers and get this stuff all blended together. So it was a really great opportunity to work on a big feature. Well, I got into all this because as a musician, I played in bands, and there was a great opportunity in the 80s working with John Carpenter. So I was his musical scoring buddy. So I had all the equipment and all the stuff. He had the movie, and the two of us would get into a studio and work together. And, so I have quite a reputation for these horror movies and scary stuff. Well, that's all modulated now. Here we are in the year the 2000s, and that's something I can do by myself. People come to me for scary movies. So I did like 5 sci-fi movies last year. And then in the 80s, I did all that Halloween stuff with John Carpenter and Big Trouble in Little China and They Live and Prince of Darkness. So all that stuff I bring forward now, and I can apply that to scores for a lot of horror movies that are going on now, and science fiction also. As a musician, I combine now my sound design and my composing. It's almost the same thing. It's all one. It's the same gear. You sit in the same room. It's just the application. So either paint a picture in sound or paint a picture in music. I was an artist when I started. I was a painter. So I always think of everything visually. So it's really painting with sound for me. Well, in the beginning when I was doing all the Star Treks and stuff like that in the early 80s, we had analog synthesizers. And the sound effects editors would come back and say, well, we need something more organic. We need something that really sounds real, not electronic, unless in the case it's an electronic effect. So at that, originally we were using tape recorders and sound, and you would manipulate tape. And there was a lot of experimentation just with tape recorders at the time. Well, now we're into digital sampling. All this stuff is on computers. So the manipulation of real sound and the processing of real sound has really become electronic. It's really merged together in one platform. So it's a great opportunity now with all this digital stuff to make these sort of electronic layer cakes where it's really the sound of this and this and this and this, but you now as an audience just perceive it as the sound of this one thing you're watching. There was a great opportunity working on Poltergeist for Steven Spielberg. And I remember sitting in a room with Spielberg and Michael Kahn and Frank Marshall, and we came to the sound of the little girl's voice. So now you have a story point where the voice is in another dimension. Everybody's looking up to the ceiling going, oh, there, we hear this sound, but what is that sound? So I remember Spielberg telling me he wanted the sound to be Earth to Venus. And I remember sitting there like, oh my God, what does he mean? I don't have any idea. But of course you say, I got one of those, that's great. And I walk out in the hall and I just start to sweat like, wow, this is not going to work out. But the funny part is, I went through, after a lot of experimentation, I was riding in the car one day on my way back to Paramount Studios at the time, and this old Led Zeppelin tune comes on called Whole Lotta Love. And if you remember in Whole Lotta Love, there's this little break where Robert Plant sings all by himself. And there was this little pre-echo, like, you need my love. And it turned out it was a headphone that was on the floor and had another take that was out of sync. But they loved it and they kept it in there. And I heard that and I went, oh, that's it, Earth to Venus, that's what he's talking about. So that it took that and modulated that in, and we, at the time, took tape recorders and I played the sound of the girl's voice into reverberation backwards and then flipped the tape around so we had reverse reverb and then reverb playing at the end, and it became this what we call the Carol Ann effect. And it was great. And you know, when you do dialogue, it's right up front. You hear all that stuff.